This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good morning, everyone. Bruchim abam, shalom aleichem. Hope everybody's doing well. We're continuing in Mishna Berura daf Hashavua. We are learning Siman Yud. Today we begin Siman Yud. Dinei kanfei satalis, the laws of the corners of the talis. Says the Mechaber, talis she'en la'arba knafos p'tura, a talis that does not have four corners is exempt from tzitzis. Yesh la yoysa me'arba chayeves. If it has more than four corners, it's obligated. V'oysa la arba tzitzis. Ba'arba knafel, you make four tassels on the four corners. Hamruchakos zumizu yoyser, which are most distant from each other. We just said if it has 5 corners, 6 corners, 7 corners, it's chayiv in tzitzis, but you only put tzitzis on 4 of the corners. Which ones do you choose? The ones that are most distant one from the other. Now, says the Mishna Berura, she'en la bein b'tchilas asiyasai, a talis that doesn't have 4 corners is exempt, whether it was like that when you made it originally, or whether you cut off a corner after and you rounded it. It doesn't matter. We don't say, well, it was once chayiv, so it continues to be chayiv. The bottom line is, right now, does it have 4 corners or not? If it does, it's chayiv. If it doesn't, it's pater. If it doesn't have 4 corners, it's pater. Says the Mishna Berura, mevayar bakra. This is explicit in the pasuk t'chsiv al arba kanfois kisuscha, on the 4 corners of your garment. V'darshinam b'sifri arba v'loy sholosh, 4 and not 3. And how do I know that you're so why don't we say 4 and not 5? That we have a riboy. V'yoyser me'arba marbinan me'asher techasa. From the pasuk asher techasa implies anything you cover yourself with, even if it doesn't have 4 corners, even if it has 5. So you say, well, maybe asher techasa says even 3, and dalid says and not 5. You can't say the opposite. Included in 5 is 4, but not included is 4. Not included is in 3 is 4. In other words, 5 has 4. 3 does not have 4. So therefore, it's more logical to say that if the Torah says 4, 5 it works because 5 has 4 as well. But 3, on the other hand, is not included in 4. If it has 6 or 7 corners, you would also be chayiv. Now, the Chazon Ish has a very interesting a point that the Dirshu quotes is that we know by tefillin need to be square. So would you say the corners of tzitzis need to be square, or could it be somewhat diagonal? Meaning, does it have to be a 90-degree corner? Clearly, if you're chayiv, if there are 5 corners, 6 corners, it does not have to be a 90-degree corner, because something that has 5 or 6 corners will not have a 90-degree corner. Okay, says Mishna Berura Sivkata on Gimel, chayeves. A garment of more than 4 corners is chayev. However, says Mishna Berura, some exempt. You should not make a garment with more than 4 corners. Now, regarding making a bracha, you definitely can make a bracha. Regarding wearing it, it's mutar l'chol hadeyos. It's just, if you're trying to fulfill the mitzvah, you should try to fulfill it according to all opinions with a 4-cornered garment. Because of our Pri Megadim, the Pri Megadim writes, "L'das hapoitrim," according to those who exempt a garment of 5 corners, oisan talisas katanim shalano sheish beis hatzavar. Those talis katans of ours that have a neck hole, mikamakam roiv sasam, it's still mostly closed. Umiu imeira shroiv pasuach. However, if it would come out that it's mostly open, Yase bakalaner, you should make on the collar, she'oisim achayatim ktsas agal. In other words, our talis katan it's mostly closed. So if it's mostly closed, it's considered closed, and it's not considered another corner. If it should happen that it's mostly open, well then it would be rendered another corner. If it's going to be another corner, then there's going to be an opinion that you're not chayiv in tzitzis. So here it is, you're walking around the whole day wearing this garment to be mekayim the mitzvah, you're not mekayim according to all shitos. So therefore we say, round it off. Okay. It says Mishna Berura of Katan Daled. You make tzitzis on the four corners. If you put tzitzis on 5 of the corners, you're going to be violating Baal Tosef. If let's say you put on 5 and then you cut off one, provided that the ones that remain are the ones that are most distant from each other. Says Mishna Berura of Katan Ham Ruchakas Yoser. Why? It's reasonable that you should put it on the ones that are more recognizable than the rest. Some say that putting it on the most distant is biblical. And therefore, if you can, you should be machmer. However, if you already made it and it's on a corner that's closer, and you can't fix it. Why can't you fix it? Because man tefillah is coming. You could rely on the lenient opinion, and you could even make a bracha. Sif Beis. Yesh la arba. Let's say a garment had 4 corners, v'chasach echad ba'alaksoin, and you cut one diagonally, v'asoi shnayim, and you made it 2. Harei nasis ba'alas chomesh v'chayavas. It becomes another 2 corners, and it's still chayiv in tzitzis. Says Mishna Berura echad ba'alaksoin, u'adinam chasach shtei knafes ba'alaksoin, nasis ba'alashesh. If you cut 2 on diagonal, now it has 6 corners. Let's say it was a 3-cornered garment. You're wearing a triangle. And then you basically snipped one corner. Now, well, what if I took a little tiny snip? So from afar it still looks like a triangle, but up close you see it has 4 corners. It says Mishna Berura, it has to be a large and recognizable cut. Look in the Prima Gadim that writes, the dafka im chasach michsas me'abeged, only if you cut part of the beged, ad sha'al yidei zeh nira oisei hamakom kishnei karnayim. You have to actually cut part of the garment so that it looks like there are 2 corners. Avam loy chasach klum, rak pegima besakin, kara ba'akeren, ad shenechlak oisei hamakom l'shnayim. What if I didn't cut part of the garment? I had a triangle beged, and then I slit one of the corners. So now I have 2 flapping corners. If I just made a notch with the knife, besakin, kara bahakeren, I tore in the corner, until that place tore into 2, it's not rendered a 4-cornered garment, until it's mostly open, ul kaman, besif, zayin. Take a look in the Bir Halacha. Yesh la arba v'chatach. It has 4 because you cut it. V'adinam asam mishosh kronos arba ba'ofen zeh k'moshe kasav adake Moshe. Says the Bir Halacha, there may be a minimum shiur of how far the corners need to be away from each other. V'ayim b'mordechai hanivtzvas ma'goyis rama shekasav. You should have a minimum of 3 fingers between the 2 corners. Now, if the Mechaber said if you had 4 corners and you cut one diagonally, says the Bir Alach b'adinim chatach be'echad min ha'kornos chaticha ke'ein daled v'nira al yidei zeh kishnei karnayim kein mashma me'rashi menachas layin zayin lamed zayin amad beizir maschal devitzrei. Meaning, until now, the Mechaber is talking about it has 4 corners, and one of the corners you cut diagonally. What if you didn't cut it diagonally? You made a cut like a daled. What would that mean? You made a cut like a daled. It doesn't mean you made a slit, because that we already saw in the Mishna Berura, that if you made a slit, it has to be roiv pasuach. So what would it mean? You had a corner, and then you made a cut like a daled. So we're going to have to try that. So here's your garment. It's, let's say, 4-corner, and you made a cut like a daled. Oh, like this. You see? Meaning, the Mishna Berura is talking about where you went like this, where you made a diagonal cut. Yes, I always have scissors on my desk. Yeah, that's the prerequisite to make the marmor cut. So that's the Mishna Berura. The Be'er Halacha is saying, I made a daled. I took a chunk, so I made one corner, I made it into 2 corners. So that's, I guess now the shaila is, how do you measure the 3 etzba'is? Do you measure it from here to here? L'chayra, it would be a straight line. Okay, Rabbi, so we'll hold it over here. We'll pick it up tomorrow in Sif Gimel. Wishing everybody a wonderful day. Kol tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.